Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that's what teaching this truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000 all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamon from the Great Millstone Dallas Camp, coming back today with another lesson. And I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And today's lesson is going to be entitled something along the lines of famine will be a major killer in these times. All right, famine will be a major killer in these times. And, what sparked my spirit to do this lesson was based on this article that you see here. This is from thecitizenreport.com, which they have some pretty good information on here. But it says staggering. It says almost 90% of Americans are suffering from food insecurity. All right, let's read that again. It says staggering. Almost 90% of Americans are suffering from food insecurity. And it's not necessarily it's not necessarily food insecurity by reason of, the shelves being empty and not having the food supply here. A major portion of it is due to the fact of how inflation is causing the prices of goods to increase, and the cost of living is increasing. So when you have inflation, you have more quantity, quantity, or rather say, of dollars that are in circulation, which causes the price of goods to go up. That's why now if you may go to the grocery store, you may see, like a pack of water, a 24 pack of water may cost, like $7, or, eggs, for lack of better words, a dozen eggs, in some particular places are damn near almost $10, and then the thing is that, the job that you work, you're not getting paid anymore. You're not getting paid anymore at these jobs that you do work, and with you not getting paid anymore at these jobs that you do work, and the price of living is increasing, whether it be groceries, whether it be, rent's increasing. That's just going to cause people to, that's going to cause more people to trip out here in these last days, man. You see, especially here in Babylon, the Great America, because this is known as the city, or the land that the city that that dwells without care, that has neither bars nor gates. So these everyday people, it's not common for the everyday American to go a day, all right, to go a day without some food. That's not a common thing. It's not common to go to fast. Like you have people that may do intermittent fasting, whatever the case may be, but not necessarily when you're forced to fast. When the scriptures speak of these things and how famine is going to be a major killer. All right, let's get a few precepts real quick before I go into it. Let's get Isaiah 66 and 15. It's the book of Isaiah 66 and verse 16. Isaiah 66 and 16, it says, "For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh." All right, and that's exactly how the Lord is going to return, man. He's going to return with fire from the chariots, as well as from the ICBM thermonuclear missiles that are going to burn this place up. But his sword comes in various different fashions. All right, the sword of the Lord comes by way of famine. It comes by way of martial law. It comes by way of civil unrest. It comes by way of the teeth of wild beasts. It comes by way of particular weather anomalies that may happen. As they like to say, Mother Nature, as they like to say, which is not Mother Nature. It's Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai that controls these things, these floods, these forest fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, things of that nature, like Hurricane Aaron. That's coming on the East Coast. That's all the Lord's doing. You see, but when there's a particular destruction that comes, it's known that, the destruction that's so devastating is known as the hand of God. That's what they call it. which is also a sword of the Lord. So it says, for by fire and by a sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh. But the specific sword I want to talk about here is the sword of famine. It says, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. All right, it says the slain of the Lord is going to be many. And how is the many going to die? The many is going to die by famine. Okay, this is 2nd Ezra 16, and let's see, 21. 2nd Ezra 16 and 21. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they should think themselves to be in good case. You see, it says, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. You see, so even at times where it could look like it could be good, you know, you may see gas prices lower. You know, you may hear particular things on the news as if, you know, the economy is getting better, and you see the Dow Jones and the stock market, and the stock market's up. Okay, that's not ultimately, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that's not the end all be all. The end all be all is for this place to go down with utter chaos, man. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. There it is right there. It says many. Now we just read that the slain of the Lord shall be many. And wow, right in front of me, 144, call Holo Yahweh Shema Shai. So the slain of the Lord shall be many. So it says, and many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. Meaning that what? You're not going to be able to eat. It says, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So those that escape the famine, the sword's going to get them. Whether it be these particular malicious groups out here, because, you know, when food gets scarce, you're going to have people that's going to do things by any means necessary to eat. Like Elder Ariala says, man, you know, you take away a man's sandwich, you know, and then the true nature of that individual is going to come out. So once again, it says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. It says, and the other that escape the sword shall and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Okay, so it's going to be complete anarchy and complete mayhem out here, man. You see? And one of those main reasons why it's going to be complete chaos out here is due to the fact that it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to eat the way that you eat. You see? The Lord going to put these Americans on a natural slim fast diet. And they're going to slim fast. They're going to pine away quickly. Last verse 23, it says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. This is what's coming. That's why it's important to fear Yahweh by Shema Shah. This is what's on the way. It says the dead shall be cast out as dung, and what is dung? Dung is shit. Just as you see some shit on the side of on the side of the grass when you walk in or whatever the case may be, and somebody didn't pick it up from their pet, that's how dead bodies are going to be out here, man. This is going to be cast out. You see? It says, and there shall be no man to comfort them. It says, for the earth shall be wasted, all right, and the city shall be cast down. You see, because with this anarchy that's going to come, it's going to come with mayhem to these cities, man. The cities is going to be blocked off. You're not going to be able to enter in. Like it says in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, these are the times that we're coming in. And you already have the cruel Lord, Donald J. Trump in office, and you clearly see what he's doing. You clearly see the agenda that he got going on, and it ain't even him. It's not even his agenda. It's the agenda of the elite. You see, everybody was all crying to make America great again, but you know, here it is. Everything that Donald Trump said he was going to do for the average American, he completely reneged on it, man. And now you see America. You know, I don't even want to use the word slowly. You know, but America's fastly becoming a police state. You have these militaries, you know, you got the military pretty much being mobilized in particular different cities. He said that he wants to deploy 19,000 National Guard troops in 19 cities. So you already have a form of soft martial law that's pretty much being implemented, man. And remember that, and that's their whole motto. What's their motto? Order out of chaos, ordo ab chaos. Okay? So it says and this is a quote from the usnews.com. It says, one second. Right, it says the overwhelming majority of Americans, 86%, say the cost of groceries is at least a minor source of stress. You see, because you have also other sources of stress that are coming in. Cost of living is a stressor. The fact that you're doing more work and not getting paid for it is a stress. The fact that you got people getting laid off from AI taking their jobs. That's a form of stress. You see, but the thing is, the difference between us and them is the fact that we understand and know that these things have to come. The average everyday person here living in Babylon the Great that's completely oblivious to what's going on, the wisdom and knowledge isn't going to be the stability of their time. When these things hit in their perfection. You see? So it says, but we are stressed out here. The scripture says that the saints will be constantly harassed. But once again, we lean and we rely upon Yahweh Shah for the comfort in this stress, which ultimately is having comfort in the prophecies coming to pass. Okay, it says the number includes 53% who say it's a major source of anxiety in their lives right now, and it is, man, because the money that you get, the money that you get doesn't stretch as far as it used to. You go to whether it be Kroger or Tom Thumb, and I'm only saying particular stores here in Texas, but they got other stores like Giant Eagle, Borders, Costco, Sam's Club, Sprouts, Whole Foods, and man, you try to go to Sprouts and Whole Foods, which we try to eat the best of the worst because all the shit's defiled amongst the Gentiles anyway, but we try to do the best we can. You go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or something like that. You get you one bag of groceries. That shit gonna come out to $70. One bag. And that's for so-called quote unquote organic things. I'm gonna eat me some organic celery. I'm gonna eat some organic carrots. So the money that you do have, it doesn't stretch as far. Back when I was younger, and other apostles, elders, and other brothers that's older than me can account, because even in their times when they were younger, it was different than my time. I came up in the 90s, but I remember when my parents, they would go grocery shopping, and you could have a full cart of groceries. I'm talking about full all the way up to the top. And it may be like $100 or $120 or something like that. But I'm talking about, it was food that would last you and your two siblings and the whole house for a whole week. Now you fill the grocery cart up with groceries today. That's gonna run you at least $400. So now people are resorted to eating out more, eating more fast food. People don't know how to cook. Women don't know how to cook. And then they got these children. All they do is just feed them just McDonald's and Wendy's all damn day and Popeyes and all that kind of stuff. So the kids is coming up. The children are coming up all jacked up in the mind because they eating all kinds of chemicals and poison and things of that nature. So ultimately, man, we need out of here, man, because it's just gonna get worse. They already want to smash up bugs and make them into burgers. Here it is. You're gonna be eating grounded up crickets, a cricket burger. You got something called rice cakes. Now you're gonna have roach cakes, grounded up roaches. See, it says, and it's cutting across income, age, and geography. It says, while Americans over age 60 are less likely than young people to feel major financial anxiety about housing, their savings, childcare, or credit card debt, they are just as worried about the cost of groceries. See, because even with the little Social Security, or the retirement pension that you may receive if you're 60, and let's say you're retired, and they want to increase that age now. That's what Donald Trump wants to do. He wants to increase the age. I want to say to what, 60? I think it's 67. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say he wants to increase it to 67. You living off of SSI. That's not that really doesn't even. That really doesn't even help you at the end of the day, because it's still, the cost of living is still so high. Okay, it says from June 2024 to June 2025, groceries got more expensive in every category tracked by the bureau of labor statistics, meats, poultry, fish, and eggs roll in price by 5.6%. Egg prices alone rose 27.3%. Eggs alone rose 27.3%, and that's due to inflation, man. You see, so with the price of meat, poultry, that's just food, not necessarily just living, because you already have a housing crisis taking place. You already have the whole issue with homelessness. Now, what's Donald Trump doing? Now they want to get the homeless off the streets and get them into these camps. Why is there so many homeless people? Because they can't afford, either A, they burn the bridge, and they burn too many bridges, whereas they can't get help because they could be strung out on drugs, or whatever the case may be, or B, they can't afford it. They can't afford it. The average car note that you got, if you got a car, you're paying the car note, the average car note is going to be between $400 to $700, maybe $800 a month. And that's just for a decent car. So everything is getting more expensive, man. But when it comes down to food, that's when things become a different ball game. Okay? 'Cause that's when people's animalistic nature is going to come out. All right, this is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4. All right, verse 7. I'll start at verse 7 and read down. You know what? I'm just get to the point. No, I'm gonna start at verse 7. It says, "Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire." Okay, and the Nazarites here is just talking about the princes of Israel. Okay, because when you read Lamentations, all right, this is pretty much Jeremiah lamenting for the destruction that came upon Jerusalem from the Babylonians. Because when the Babylonians seized Jerusalem, pretty much Jerusalem got sieged, and they starved Jake out. And they did the same thing during 70 AD whenever the Romans besieged Jerusalem. They starved pretty much whenever a besiegement takes place. They encamp their armies round about the city, and they may put ramparts up, so that nothing can go out and nothing can go out and nothing can come in. So so the people were resorted to eating their last little food reserves that they had, and then eventually they started eating, their sandals. They started eating their girden, their leather girden belts that were around their garments. They would eat the leaves off the trees, and then eventually it got down to cannibalism, where they started eating people. Which that's going to happen again in a major way here in America. Okay. So it says, "Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was as sapphire. Their visage," pretty much how they look, "their visage is blacker than a coal." See that? So because when you become malnutrition, if you're already dark in skin and you become malnutrition, you don't get lighter. Okay, you get darker. You get you see those malnutritioned, Hamites, and how they be looking. They faces be all sunken in, and their rib cages be all sunken in, but their skin is darker. When you see a malnutritioned Edomite, so-called white man or woman, they don't get darker when they're malnutrition. They get pale. They get even more pale. So it says their visage is blacker than a coal, and letting you know that Israel were so-called black people, right? It says they are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. You see that? It is withered. It has become like a stick. And you're gonna have a lot of stick figures out here, man. A lot of these big Shirleys, these so-called black women that's out here eating up the whole damn world. Weighing 500 pounds. Oh yeah, the Lord gonna put them on a natural. He gonna put them on a natural diet. Okay. It says, "They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger." You see that? So it's better to be killed off with the sword than to die by hunger, because when you die by starvation, that's a different kind of pain that you feel, man. That's a helplessness pain. Your body's eating at itself. Because what happens with your body is that once you take out particular foods or like carbs, for lack of better words, your body will go into a state of ketosis. And when your body goes into a state of ketosis, pretty much what happens is that the fat reserves that you have in your body will start being eaten at. So you have the fat reserves will be eaten at, and then after the fat reserves is taken out, what happens is that it'll start eating at your muscles. That's when people start getting smaller. They start looking more thin. Their facial features start being sunken in, their ribs start showing. And then when the muscle's gone, what happens? And then pretty much your body shuts down, starts eating away at the organs until your body just fails. So that's a slow, painful death, extremely painful. And then you're also gonna have other hungry people, so they're gonna see you helpless. And then what are they gonna do? They're gonna grab you up and cook you. They're gonna grab you up and cook you and put you over a goddamn open fire, man. And they showed you that. They showed you that in The Walking Dead, and all these other zombie apocalypse shows, man. So it says, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for the want or lack of the fruits of the field. See that? So it's better to be slain with the sword than to be slain by way of famine. Verse 10. And this actually happened. This actually happened with our people. Once again, when the Babylonians and the Romans besieged Jerusalem, this happened. This took place. It says, the hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. And that word sodden means to boil, to cook. Okay? It says they were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people, man. And that's when you get resorted to cooking your own child for food, your own children for to eat. Man, that's a hard way to go out. So to the point where you're resorted to cooking your own child. But once again, that's all gonna come back in a major way. Lamentation 5:9, it says, we gat our bread with peril. All right, we gat our bread with peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Once again, when you're malnutrition and you don't eat, dark-skinned people, they will get darker. Let's read that again. Let's read this in the NLT. We hunt for food at the risk of our lives, for violence rules the countryside. Because even when you go out to try to get food, you're gonna have particular militia groups and raiders out there. They gonna and you risking yourself to be open to be to get attacked. And we're gonna see how strong you so-called independent women are in that time, man. We're gonna see how many of you Wonder Women, women kings of y'all out there is gonna be out there just, looking like Laura Craft from Tomb Raider. Okay, all that shit's gonna be out the goddamn window, man. Okay, everybody's gonna be put back into their lot, into their role. Nature's gonna take its course. So once again, it says we hunt for food at the risk of our lives, for violence rules the countryside. The famine has blackened our skin as though baked in an oven. Once again, this also is a scripture that you can use to prove the Israelites were so-called black people, man. So-called. You see? All right, so lock in. But once again, all right, when this famine comes, it may not necessarily be just based upon nothing growing or anything like that. It could be because prices are so high. Now, granted, the food trucks are going to stop. They are going to stop the trucks from coming in because there's going to be blockades, and like it says, you shall desire to enter into a city and shall not be able. They're going to have food rations. These things are coming too. Ezekiel 4:16. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem. Okay, and this happened once again in the past, but the scripture says the things that are that which has been is now. There's no new thing under the sun, so it's going to happen again. The Lord is going to break the staff and bread in Jerusalem all over again. In Jerusalem, we're a people before a place. All right, it says, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care. Pretty much meaning that you're not going to be able to eat to your liking. You're not going to be able to just to eat until you full. Like you look at these particular individuals that may be in a food competition. They just be eating and they fat as hell. They just eat. And America is the most wasteful country on the planet. You go to these particular establishments, you know, and you go to the dumpsters in the back, man. I'm talking about whole meals out in the back in the trash. They just throw away. Whereas you have these other people in these other countries, for example, like in Gaza, that would you know, die to have that food, or that would, you know, they would do anything to have what's in those dumpsters, man. It's enough food that could last you a whole week. There's particular pages on YouTube where people go dumpster diving, you know, and they'll find, I'm talking about gourmet meals back there, man, and they just throw it away. You see, it says, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care. It says, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. You see, the bread, food, water, all that's going to be, they already said that water is shouldn't be a human right. The CEO of Nestle said that water is not a human right. Energy is not a human right. Food is not a human right. That's why they want to, you know, feed you with this Franken food, Beyond Meat. It says that they may want bread and water and be astonished one with another and consume away for their iniquity. You see, that's the reason why people are going to be consuming away, is due to their iniquity, man. Remember what did Yahushua say? He said that there should be wars and rumors of wars. You know, then you'll see the sword, and then famine, and then great confusion. One of the main things that it said was famine. You know, famine is gonna be a great killer in these times, man. And it's like I said, you know, right now it's hard to see. You know, because you can still go to these convenience stores and the grocery store, and you know, you can still fill your grocery cart up if you want. If you got the money to do it, you can still do it. But wait until them shelves is empty. You know, wait until those shelves are empty and you can't, you know, fill up your grocery cart the way that you want to. And it's not a normal thing to do. You know, that's when a lot of shit's gonna change. You know, that's when once again, that's when that animalistic nature's gonna show. You know, the prices are already increasing, getting higher. You know, a few more precepts and I'll be done. This is Isaiah 9, and let's see. I'm gonna actually start up and I'm gonna jump down. Isaiah 9. Or that might be let's see. Bear with me. Now I'm just gonna get straight to the point. Isaiah 9:20. It says, and he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. You see that? So even when you attack your neighbor for some food, it's not going to be enough in there. You may look to see what your neighbor got and breaking into their crib, and you take out the man, you take out the woman, you take out the child. You know what I'm saying? And here it is, the family that you took out, or the people that you took out, they don't even have anything. You know, or they may have just a little bit. They may have a half a can of beans left, and you eating that, and it ain't going to be enough. And he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. See, so you do the same thing to somebody else, and it's still, they in the same position as you. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. Let's read that in the NLT. They will attack their neighbor on the right, but will still be hungry. They will devour their neighbor on the left, but will not be satisfied. In the end, they will even eat their own children. This is a future prophecy, man. This will happen. Okay, like it says in 2 Ezra the 15th chapter, man. It says, they're gonna attack each other with the sword for the lack of bread. That's coming. That's coming on a major way. And once again, like I said, when I seen the title of this article, I'm like, man, yo, it's getting bad out here, man. Almost 90% of Americans are suffering from food insecurity. Man. Whew. Hey, so with that, I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth and that's what teaching his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say shalom.